I'm going to go ahead. It is 12:11 p.m. on Tuesday, June the 1st. I'm going to call this in-person / hybrid Personnel Administration Committee to order. And I want to start by noting that we have with us Councilor Marty Hawk. We also have with us Councilor Eric Spoonmore, and also joined by various department heads and staff. I want to start by thanking, number one, all of the levels and entities in Monroe County government that are figuring this out as we return to an in-person meeting of this committee. I also want to note that this committee notice went out before the governor's change to his executive order that allows an extension of hybrid meetings. So therefore, to keep within the spirit of the law, we maintained this notice as we should have. That having been said, we'll get right to our business. I know we have anxious people that have other things to do today, so we appreciate very much their time. We have first on our agenda, item number 2, review of classification recommendations regarding the health department. We have an environmental health services manager, a community health manager position. And I'll at this time invite our very own administrator for the health department, Ms. Penny Cottle, if she would like to make any comments on the recommendations that we have received.
Certainly. Can you hear me okay? I am at home.
It's a little faint. One moment.
It's a little, yes. Can you get closer?
Is that better? Is that better?
It's getting a little bit better, but
Hang on, let me get my ear, hang on, let me get plugged in.
and thank you so much, and thanks to everyone for all the things we're working. I know this isn't easy, but we're figuring it out, much like the rest of the year.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Can everybody hear me as well? Okay.
All right, go ahead, Penny.
So thank you for hearing this. Thank you for sending these off to WIS, and we're very excited for them. No big surprise. I would say the only request that I have, and I just want to give a little clarity to this. So we really struggled with the health side, the community health side of this. Environmental health is kind of very clear. It's a box that is pretty clear in terms of what they're working on. And so environmental health specialist titles have been around a long time. So it was pretty easy to figure out what that manager title was and all of that. When it came to the other side of the coin, it was a lot harder to figure out really what we call these people. So our community health specialists have been known as our health educators, and that has just, the depth and the breadth that they cover has changed over time. And then what do you call this whole division? So that was a little harder because it's not this square box like environmental health. It covers lots of different things. So when we started, I didn't want to go with a division that was community health services, or mainly in the beginning because IU Health Bloomington has a division, a community health services division. And that is who we contract with for our public health nursing in our public health clinic. So it's already confusing for people, and we didn't have a division of community health, right? And so to add that just seemed like adding confusion. So we went on a research mission, and that's really where we moved to the community health specialists instead of health educators, and then defining them by the work that they do, whether it's harm reduction, tobacco, or what have you. But when it came to the division, in doing the research, the more popular term right now is truly population health. And I know that, they didn't, like that because they were kind of different. I looked at health promotion. I really started trying to do this research. And last week, really in an effort to, am I off base, or is there something else we should be looking at? I turned to my colleagues at the School of Public Health, at IU. And all of them really kind of agreed. And the community health specialists as a replacement for the health education titles they thought was spot on. Lots of job opportunities. If you Google community health specialists doing lots of different things, Dr. Sherwood Laughlin felt that we could get more applicants by using that title, that more people would be kind of searching that as a title when they're doing job searches, and that it was really a step in the right direction to show the depth and breadth that they do. I talked with Dr. Gina Forrest, Dr. Catherine Sherwood Laughlin, Alex Purcell, all felt like the division of population health made sense, or population health and outreach. Gina Forrest, Dr. Forrest also felt like there would be confusion if we used the term community health as a division. And Alex Purcell pointed out, which I was very grateful for too, just that our Public Health Accreditation Board would see population health includes things like epidemiology, our community health assessment, our community health improvement plans, all which are a part of this manager's job description. So I really do think that sticking with a divisional name that is population-based as opposed to community health-based makes more sense. That has nothing to do with these particular job descriptions except for that job title. So I would still ask for that to be a division of population health manager as opposed to community health.
So it would be population health manager.
Yeah, with the division being population health and outreach, and that just covers more, because they're not going to be necessarily, the community health specialists would be kind of doing that groundwork, right? That individual work, but this person would be overseeing all the different pieces and parts of that serve our population.
I'm sorry, Penny. This is Kim. Did you say you wanted the title of the position to be community health specialist?
No.
No.
No, this would be the population health. I was just, our health educators got moved to community health specialists. And WIS was wanting to keep this community health manager in line with that. And that is not what we would recommend or request.
So community health manager? So community health manager?
No, that's what WIS wants. What we want is population health and outreach manager. And I'm good with population health manager, but.
Okay.
Population health and outreach manager.
Yeah.
So for the record, I'm hearing a recommendation from Administrator Cottle that it's population health and outreach manager.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so strike community health manager, replace it with population health and outreach manager.
Is there a motion from the floor? Councilor Huck, you have a question.
Right. Is this the population of Monroe County only? Penny?
Well, certainly that's the focus, because this is a county position. But when you look at population health and you look at the health of our county, you want to look at the greater population as well. So this would include, looking at epidemiology and how does that affect, what are the social determinants of health going on in our community and around us. So one is not exclusive of the other, but certainly this is a county position focused on the county.
Right. I was just thinking perhaps we should call it the Monroe County, whatever, because but if that's not the case, we couldn't do that.
Can I ask a clarifying question, Ms. Cottle? It's when you were talking about answering Councilor Hawk's question, you're essentially saying, if I've got this scenario right, if there is an incident or something of, and I may not say this right, epidemiology like proportions that is in a surrounding area that could affect our population, this person would likely be looking at that or the impact on our community. Is that correct?
Correct. We want to look at threats, other, things that may be emerging. What are the emerging threats? And so you look at what's happening around us.
We certainly have learned a lot about that.
Right.
Let me ask other members questions. Councilor Spoonmore.
Yes, a question for our attorney. So what is the process for PAC? What is our involvement with this potential change of title? Do we need to announce that here today that we recommend the title changes, or is that something that the council will do at a later date?
I think it would be helpful if we would recommend it, so that the full council looks to this committee for those sorts of recommendations, changes on job descriptions. So I think if you guys are inclined to do that, I would recommend it, and then ultimately has to be done.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we rename the title of what is listed here on our agenda as Community Health Manager to Population Health and Outreach Manager.
We have a motion to change the title. Second. There's a motion and a second to change this from Community Health Manager to Population Health Manager.
Population Health and Outreach.
Health and Outreach Manager. All right. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion and second? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do a roll call on this motion.
Yes. That's okay. Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Okay. So now we have before us these two recommendations for the Environmental Health Services Manager and the Population Health and Outreach Manager. Other discussion or questions or comments from staff?
I guess if you're waiting for me, are you waiting for me or someone?
I'm waiting to see if I'm awkwardly waiting to see if there's anything else in here while I figure it out, but it sounds like there's not. So we have this review before us for these two positions. Is there any further motions?
Well, I'll ask Ms. Cottle, does she have any concerns with any of the recommendations that WIS had forwarded to us?
I really don't. I would just hope that we could fill these positions this year and not wait until 2022.
And this is Kim again, and I just want to make sure that you understand that the classification that is recommended may not be their final classification. You do understand that because we're still in the study process. Does that make sense, Ms. Cottle?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll ask our council, we need to adopt these recommendations, correct?
No, you want to forward with a positive recommendation to council.
Gotcha. Is there a motion before PAC today on these two recommendations?
Yes, sir. I would like to move that we forward with positive recommendation to council the WIS classification for the Public Health Outreach Manager of PAT 5 exempt, as well as for the Environmental Health,
The Population Health and Outreach.
Environmental Health Services Manager with that was PAT 3 non-exempt.
I don't
I'm
think
sorry,
that's
PAT
right.
4 exempt. So PAT 5 exempt for the Public Health, for Population Health Outreach Manager, for the Environmental Health Services Manager, PAT 4 exempt.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second on these two recommendations. Any further discussion? All right, seeing no further discussion.
I do have one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I do, because I think I thought I had these and maybe I looked at them wrong. So we do have other PAT 4s that are in environmental health. So how will that affect this manager, the environmental health services manager?
According to the recommendation, the environmental health services manager is recommended for a PAT 5.
Okay, but I thought we just said 4, so I wanted.
I'm sorry, I didn't have the paperwork. Nobody had, we just received the paperwork. So the recommendation is for the environmental health manager or health services manager is a recommendation from WIS as a PAT 5 exempt. The population health and outreach manager is recommended at a PAT 5 exempt.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's why I asked. I thought I missed it.
I will amend the motion to be PAT 5 exempt for both positions.
We have an amended motion on the floor,
Second.
and there's a second. Any further discussion? Any couple catches it? All right. With no further discussion, we're going to go ahead and call a roll call vote on the review classification recommendations of these two positives.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cottle. Thanks for your patience as we figure this out. Well, now we're getting better as we go, and we're going to move on to item number B, or item letter B, the Board of Commissioners. And we have Ms. Angela Purdy with us, and this is regarding the return of recommendation from WIS on the Public Information Coordinator position. Ms. Purdy, do you have anything you'd like to talk to us about based on the WIS recommendation?
Actually, I don't have anything other than to say thank you for considering this, and I don't have any. I don't have anything to go against WIS's recommendations here. It was a PAT 4 recommendation, so I've just asked that PAC approve it and allow it to go to council for the full review approval, I guess.
So we have this recommendation on the Public Information Coordinator position. I'll open it up for questions, for comments from PAC members. Councilor Hawk.
Yes, I'm sorry, I had in mind that we were doing the sheriff next, so I've got to get to where.
Page 16.
We'll take a moment here. We're all getting kind of sorted.
I mean, the agenda says we're doing the sheriff's next.
Agenda says B, Board of Commissioners, Public Information Coordinator. It's the one I'm looking at posted on.
Okay, so that is what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure because I was hearing from Andrew.
Really?
Which one?
Here it is. That one?
She's got it. I said, yeah.
I got
page
it.
16.
I just thought I was hearing.
Right, this one here, that's a
Yeah.
sheriff's office.
Oh,
But that's fine.
Are we all on the same page?
well, I've got one I pulled off the web. So I think since we're on B, Board of Commissioners, the one I see posted, let's just keep.
Yeah. I don't know what I did. Sorry.
It happens.
So what page is that one?
Okay.
I think that is not exempt, right?
Page 16.
Is it
And not exempt, PAT 4.
Well, so then she is right here. Just right there.
I had it all marked out at home.
Any other questions or comments?
If if not, I'll move that we.
I have, what, if you're preparing to move forward, are we just on questions or statements or comments or
I'm
where?
open to anything that counselors want to talk about.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was talking about the right position. We're now talking about the information person for the commissioner's office. Okay, when I read this job description, it appeared to be somewhat different than what was turned in. Did either of you see that as well? To begin with, I thought this position was going to be sort of a coordinated effort between commissioners and council. It no longer looks as if that's the case. It just says something to be presented to the council. It doesn't say the council has any input in it, just to be presented that way. I continue to have misgivings about this position. I believe that it should be reviewed carefully by all department heads that would be affected by it. County government is a far different animal than city government. And so we are meant to have, as our county assessor reminded us at one of the very last meetings, we are meant to be separate voices with perhaps separate opinions. And each should be equally heard and presented to the public. For instance, just in the past, 2 weeks, I think it has been, we saw a major difference between the opinion of the county commissioners and the opinion of our representative on the Plan Commission, Councilmember McKim. And so I believe his voice should be as important to present that information to the public as the commissioners, because that we're set up that way. The state set it up that way. We have to remember, we are only an extension of what the state, we're set up by legislation about how we're supposed to interact together. And while I think on the whole of it, if you're just looking at this and really don't have a clear understanding of county government, I mean, for the public, they might say, gee, this is great. This is a good way to get overall information at one point of introduction. And I believe that's also the case where we could have a place where any member of the press or public that wants information could go to one spot to get it. That doesn't mean one person or being controlled by one elected official as a whole, but either on our page or in some manner. In addition to which, each elected official has the opportunity to call a press conference if they have something special they want to share with the public. So I think this is the wrong way to go. I've asked more than once, show me what other county does this. I know the city does, and that's appropriate. The mayor is over those departments. The county commissioners, let me remind you, the county commissioners are not over the elected officials, period. They're just not. They're over the buildings, they're over the grounds, and they're over, many of their own separate departments. So if this was set up just for them and their own departments, that's one thing, but this includes that this person would write speeches for the county commissioners. Well, gee, how nice. I mean, the public at large will be paying to write speeches for the county commissioners. This is just not the way it's done in county government. I strongly oppose this and will not be supporting it. And I think that we need to look for a better way to communicate with the public. We can do that and bring, so that each elected official has a place to bring that information and take it to the public. Whether that's doing that on radio, whether that's doing press conferences, whether that's Facebook, whatever. And then they are responsible for the words that they use.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hawk. Other comments?
I do have a question for Ms. Purdy. If she could address some of those concerns that Councilor Hawk had about the differences in the job descriptions.
Yeah, the differences in the job descriptions were all addressed at the last PAC meeting. It was at that time that I submitted to you guys just prior to the meeting, but so did Ms. Shell, the proposed revisions and clarification for this, what you see before you, because what's before you is what we submitted. I just want to reiterate that there is absolutely no intention for this person to speak for any elected person. That's not the intention unless that elected person asks them and approves the speech that they're going to be giving. So this is not taking away any elected officials' rights or power or ability to communicate with the public. The hope is that this person will be able to help our electeds know what's going on and be able to give them background information as necessary. Does that help?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I had some comments, but I want to make sure Councilor Spindler, do you have anything else you want to say?
So yeah, just to clarify, I mean, this is what we're voting on here today is to accept or, you know, make a recommendation to council or not on the classification review that WIS has done. I think I still have, you know, a strong desire to see this position explored and considered. We've been through a number of public meetings where we've had the commissioner's office present and the council present in the same room talking through kind of what the vision is for this role. I think there is a need for it in county government. Maybe, you know, there is some adjustments that still remain to be made. But I think it's reflective, what WIS has sent back to us is reflective of what I was looking for and kind of confirmed with Ms. Purdy here as well, based on the guidance that she had received and the discussions that we had had about this new position. So I'm going to be supportive of the recommendation that WIS has made and moving that on to council, but we may need to have even further discussions about it at this point. So, but that's where I am on.
Thank you, Councilor Spindler. Let me make a few comments myself. First of all, I want to say that I appreciate very much Ms. Purdy has worked, particularly with some of my concerns, about making sure that the position does not speak for elected officials who have been duly elected by the public to do their very important work and will know their area and certainly be responsible to the taxpayers of this community, far greater than this role. Now, that said, I think this position will be a work in progress for not just this part of the process, but the next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and well beyond. Just like this courthouse, there, I think, will be a need to communicate with the public, serve the public, and do all sorts of functions we don't envision. We certainly, in the last year and a half, have learned how important it is to communicate clearly with the public. And we could spend 3 million years working on that and still not going to get it right. So I do think that this will be an evolving position. I do also think, and there's going to be a lot of work on this. I think council will have some weigh in and some further thoughts, and commissioners and lots of others. I do also think, though, we have learned wholeheartedly that county government is a large entity keeping people safe, protecting the public, providing information to the public, and as Penny Cottle could write a master's thesis on, doing that in the worst complication possible. And that's not going to change. When the county has to respond, it has to be able to respond clearly, quickly, and we cannot always rely on that coming together in a disparate system. Does that mean this person is going to be talking about assessments? No. Does it mean if the assessor wants the person to help them with something, would they do it? I'd love to see that kind of a thing, but again, that would be between that elected and others. One thing that will not go away, the public that walk in and they want information about what we're doing, and that's not going away. And so again, this position and the one that's after it, getting information that people need is not going away. And so I will also be supporting this, knowing that we're going to have a lot more work that comes from this person. If it's passed, we'll have a lot of work to figure out with that.
I have no question.
Councilor Hawk.
Right. Who will be training this person? Because there's very few people that I am aware of that could come in here and understand how county government is organized, how to work out the fiscal responsibilities, and how we arrive at the numbers to come in and be on board. Somebody's going to have to train this person. Who's going to do that? Who is even capable of doing that? Or will each department be required to train this person?
I'd like to speak to that actually. I think that's often a problem that we have.
I cannot hear you.
I think that's often a problem we have in county government, or an issue that we need to contend with. Most people who start in county government are not familiar with our structure, and they kind of learn as they go, as they interact with all the different departments. This position does report directly to the commissioner's administrator, who I'm sure will explain to her from her vantage point, county government. And then as this person interacts with council staff, interacts with legal, interacts with all of the departments, they'll learn as they go, as many of our jobs do. Certainly legal will be available as a resource. And we already have that sort of neutral model where we represent and give advice, you know, from just a neutral standpoint. So I think it will be available as a resource. And we always want feedback from elected officials if they think that, you know, there's something that's not quite happening the way it should.
Have you, in your research, and I've asked for it, so I've not heard one person say, yes, they found it. Any other county government our size that has such a position?
I don't know of, and I don't know if Angie found that. Again, I don't know that it exists or if Liz found it. I don't know that it's a bad idea just because it doesn't exist, but I don't know of a county that has this kind of position.
Actually, Hamilton County has a public information person. However, there is a contract. It's not a county employee, but they are listed under the Board of Commissioners in Hamilton County.
One thing, let me make an additional comment, and I'm going to invite councilors to make any further comments they have before we move on to the next item. Is one thing is I often hear references to existing elected officials, existing policy, existing personnel. And one thing I want to encourage everyone to always think about is the current configurations we have on everything, on who's in my chair and other chairs and other elected officials' chairs and departments. Those things do change over time. I always am hesitant on voting and making policy around personalities in existing offices, and instead think about long-term, 15 years from now, in a pandemic type scenario, what can you do to help communication with the public, et cetera? And certainly those roles will evolve over time. I've probably said too much already, but any other comments from councilors? Councilor Scooter.
I'd like to make a motion if I could. I'd like to move that PAC sends to council our positive recommendation of the list classification of Act 4, non-exempt, for the position of public information officer. Public information.
I will second that. We've got a motion and second. Any further discussion on the motion and second before?
Do you want to see if there's any public comment?
You know, we've not taken it in the committee to this point. Is there a department head or is anyone that's on that would like to make a comment? TSD, are you seeing anyone?
I am not.
And I do want to thank the elected officials and others that have helped towards this process. That's going to be probably integral for that person who will not be me as well if this is ever ultimately passed. So we have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, go ahead and call a roll.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
No.
Motion passed majority, 2-1.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. President. We're now moving on to item number C, the Sheriff's Department. And I saw just a moment ago Captain Davis. Here he's coming on. Thank you for being back with us, Captain Davis. You have received this recommendation from WIS. I hope, I'm pretty sure you have, and wanted to see if you have any further comments on the recommendation as WIS sent it back. I think you are muted, sir.
There we go. The recommendation came back where we were expecting it, and especially with the educational change, we kind of foresaw that coming down the pike. So appreciate the opportunity to be back in front of PAC today, and hopefully this will have a positive recommendation.
Thank you very much, Captain. I'll invite members of PAC to ask any questions or make comments at this point. Councilor Hawk.
Yes, the comment I have on this, which is far different from what I looked at that last position about, is this is a position that will bring together data, analysis, information to present to the elected official and his designated appointee to take information to the public. The last position we voted on will not be speaking for the sheriff, period. He's already made that clear. But the public has asked a lot of questions about data, about information from the law enforcement portion of county government, and our sheriff wishes to make certain that he has all the information prepared to present to the public, and that's what this information is for and what this position reflects. So I will be supporting this one.
Thank you, Councilor Hawk. Go ahead, Councilor Spoonmore.
I have nothing really to say other than I'm very much supportive of this.
Thank you very much, Councilor Spoonmore. I'll just chime in with some final comments. I appreciate very much what Councilor Hawk says about supplying the elected official and that department with the information they need to make decisions about responding to the public. Certainly public engagement is difficult for every elected official and in many ways much harder for our sheriffs as they do their job and figure out all the things they have to figure out. So I appreciate that component that helps them. And again, I do reiterate that I think that supplying, gathering information, that's not going to go away. That's going to only multiply if I had to bet my mortgage. So I appreciate the effort here today. Any further comments on this recommendation? All.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to send the council a positive recommendation of the WIS classification of PAC 3 non-exempt for the position of administrative data analyst.
Got a motion? We have a second.
Second.
And a second from Councilor Hawk. Any other further discussion on the motion before the body? Seeing none, let's call the roll.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
All right, thank you very much. We have item number 10, the approval of minutes. And if anyone has any comments on the minutes, you can make them. But if not, I'll accept the motion to approve them as presented.
Mr. Chairman, approval of minutes as presented.
We have a motion
A second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes,
Motion passed unanimous.
thank you very much. Now go to any PAC member comments. I do have a few myself, but they'll be brief. Any member comments?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, my first comment will be, one thing I learned today is that, yes, I'll have to bring the laptop every time. I didn't recognize that was going to be necessary, but I'd be happy to do that. And the second is that we have a lot on our plate. We're waiting on what WIS brings back to us, and that's going to be huge. And it's going to be something that we all need to work together with to understand the whole emphasis on what's going to happen with us financially having to do. Now, I understand we're not the financial body, but we have to look at that as a PAC as to how we move forward with our recommendations. So this is all going to work in tandem together with what we get back from WIS, or what we hear back from the analyst having to do with the fiscal impact of the annexation. So this council as a body, not just this committee, but as a body, has one of the biggest responsibilities. It always seems like every year is more than the year before. But this is a time for us to focus on making sure we understand what our job is. And so to that end, I hope everybody is taking all the classes they can. I'm not saying that to council PAC members, but just in general, so that we will be right on top of all the decisions that we need to be making. So I appreciate being back in our beautiful courthouse, and thank you, community, for keeping us safe during this time.
Thank you, Councilor Hawk. You have a comment? I'll just make a couple of quick ones. It is wonderful to be in the Monroe County Courthouse in the Matthew Hill and to look across and see Margie Rice and Kim Shell and Colby's back there. It is, and Councilor Hawk and Councilor Spoonmore, it is awesome. It is a good feeling, and particularly this weekend, as my family and I were doing things. Yesterday we had two tremendous Memorial Day services for those that this community has lost in the service to this nation. It was beautiful to see people safely, slowly getting out and about. And if you notice the downtown traffic and the traffic in Ellettsville and all the places that I've traveled to, there's a lot going on, and it's wondrous things we've got to be safe through. We had some hiccups today in the meeting, but that's to be expected. And certainly we didn't have near the hiccups that in issues that many people have sacrificed so much for us to get here. It is a wondrous thing to serve this public, and I'm grateful to be part of this moment. But that's all I have. Thank you so much. If there's no other further business before the PAC, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good job.